Welcome to The Localist, a conversation with local makers and independent entrepreneurs. I'm your host, author of the Localist book and former small business owner, Carrie Rollwagen. Today, we're talking with Son of a Butcher. So Son of a Butcher is a butcher shop. They also sell specialty foods like specialty cheeses, different fish, all kinds of specialty foods. We'll talk more about that on the podcast. They're actually a neighbor of Infomedia. They're right across the street from us. So we've been able to watch as they opened the shop and grew the business to what it is today. Now, Son of a Butcher grew out of Evans Meats and Seafoods, which we'll talk about that relationship some too. So it was really a cool story to hear how they opened the shop and how they've developed Son of a Butcher to kind of have its own personality and still be a part of Evans Meats as well. Today we're talking with Brian McMillan, who is specialty director at Evans Meats and Seafood, and we're also talking with John Litzinger, who is head cheesemonger and does a lot with the specialty foods over at Son of a Butcher. I love this conversation so much. We talk about the business itself a lot. We talk about food. We talk about connecting with customers, both the customers that Evans Meats has of the restaurant client and the customers that Son of a Butcher has of people who actually just walk into the brick and mortar. We really get into how both John and Brian got started as cheesemongers and how they developed the love of food that is really what sets Son of a Butcher apart. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you do too. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We've been neighbors, so Infomedia is across the street from Son of a Butcher, and we're always walking across the street and those kind of things. But I wanted to have you guys on for a long time, so thanks for coming.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
I didn't know how close it was until I pulled up and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that is literally across the street.
Yeah, well, you guys are open to actual customers who can walk in.
Yeah.
I guess you could technically walk in and order a website at the front desk here,
Right.
but most people don't.
Yeah,
Feel
yeah.
free if you're listening. Well, I want to talk a little bit about how Son of a Butcher got started. This was, like, you guys opened after COVID, right? Because I think that's part of the origin story. Is that right?
Yeah, after or during, depending on how you mark time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that whole period of time, I think, is just
Right.
fuzzy for everybody.
Right.
So.
For sure.
Yeah. So how did that, and you grew out of Evans Meats and Seafoods, right?
Correct.
So yeah, tell me some about that.
So our origin story for Son of a Butcher definitely came out of a period of crisis. It was early March 2020, and we had a warehouse full of meat and specialty food that we needed to sell, and our customers at Evans Meats are predominantly restaurants with some small retail and hotel in the mix, and obviously when they had to close, we needed to find an outlet, and we just sort of got in a room and tried to figure it out and decided that going direct to the public was the most efficient way to do it. We built a website, and by the next day we were on the curb on Findlay Avenue, servicing 300 to 500 cars every day.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was definitely the Wild West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we continued that, and then as our restaurant partners started to reopen, the need to get cars off of our curb on Findlay started to become a little more urgent. So we kind of, I think, half joking, we're like, Adam was like, well, Adam Evans, our president, one of the owners, was like, well, we've served a lot of people for, several months now, and I'm going to feel pretty bad just turning that faucet off. So I said, well, why don't we just open a butcher shop? Ha ha ha.
And, you never say that to the business owner.
Right.
They're always like, sounds good, you make it happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So no, it was very much the genesis of what ended up being a really good idea and a great thing for Birmingham. And so we started reaching out and putting a team together, and John was one of the first that we reached out to. John Litzinger here. And, it just so happened he was at a point in his life when he was looking to make a change out of a long-term career. So he came on board and as kind of running our specialty department, if you will, which is everything that you don't have to cook is the easiest way.
Pretty much,
to put
yeah.
it.
Yeah, like cheese, charcuterie, oils,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
That makes sense. I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like the whole place is a specialty department, but I think that is a compliment. Yeah.
I feel like that'd be fair to say, honestly.
Well, how did you meet through your other work? Did you meet did you have people buying from you from restaurants? Like, how did you kind of put that team together?
And I think that kind of goes back to just the relationships we have in this community in Birmingham, which is where we're based. We just sort of, one of our strengths is knowing a lot of people and kind of, if we have an opportunity for them, kind of being mindful of that and thinking.
Yeah.
And in John's case, we had his former coworker moved away, moved on, and connected me with John and let me know that John was looking to do something a little more. I'll let John finish what he was looking to do.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah. So my previous employment, I've been a cheesemonger for a good minute. I think I'm on like year 12 or so, and I started and really enjoyed it. I thought it was super fun. I thought it was cool to get to like focus on like really high quality products and just kind of learn the stories about them. And I hit a point in my time where I kind of realized that the area I was in wasn't downtown, but a lot of the time that I was spending in my like off time was downtown. I really love downtown Birmingham. I spent a lot of time over at Hop City at restaurants around town, all that kind of stuff. And I'd started to like bring cheeses to breweries and like let people try stuff. And so it occurred to me that like where I really wanted to be was more in the city.
Yeah.
And that was kind of when I found out about, the Son of a Butcher opening. And my coworker told me that Brian was kind of like one of the people helming that ship. And I said, oh, that's cool. Cause I met him through, through that friend. And, I started thinking about it and I said, this could be a cool opportunity for me to be able to get more involved with downtown Birmingham and kind of get back to what I felt like were the things that I fell in love with in cheese and in the kind of like specialty goods area that I felt were starting to become lacking at where I was currently at. And that's ultimately what ended up pushing me towards reaching out to him and saying, hey, I'd really like to be considered. So
I like that you're talking about downtown because I do think and even like putting together a team sort of organically, I think that's one of the things I love about local businesses, and there are just a lot of more local food, like restaurants and stuff downtown than there would be on like 280 or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do enjoy, like I feel like when I go in, I usually see somebody I know, or you develop a relationship just by repeatedly going in, and then you do find those connections, which as kind of a extreme introvert when I'm not doing a podcast, like I really like that. Like I don't have to be an extrovert. If I'm a good customer like 4 times, people start to know me and we start to talk,
Yeah.
And I feel like you can't, I do think that makes sense that you kind of can build those relationships and want to be in that area kind of.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's one of the cool parts about the shop for me is like that is kind of where we're at. There's people that I know that have been coming to the shop for the entire time we've been open. And there's sometimes these are people that like they don't really talk to us a lot when they come in, but then over time you get to know them better. And I literally like have some faces in my mind right now that I'm thinking of, and you're like, oh, that person's actually like really cool. I'm glad he's continuing to come in because I would have never known anything about him otherwise,
Yeah. So were you always looking in Pepper Place, or were you just kind of like feelers out everywhere?
No, there were a few places we were looking at, some right here downtown, some a little more over the mountains, some kind of between the two, and I think everything worked out the way it was supposed to. There were there were places we were looking at that had like the statistics or the demographics would have been maybe a little more advantageous for us to open, but it was really important for us to be part of the Birmingham community, and what better place to like capture everyone from the Birmingham community other than Pepper Place, especially for the Saturday market. You're drawing people from all over, and so it was a decision we some of it was out of our control, but it was a decision we got comfortable with really quickly and started to kind of see it.
I do like it over here. I feel like we are close enough to downtown where it's still, you can kind of be in that mix, but we actually have parking.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's critical.
Yeah.
Helps a lot.
I've come to find out it's very important to people in Birmingham.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny because it does feel a little bit like it's like on the outskirts, but in like the best way possible,
Yeah. So also for people who haven't been yet, and hopefully they'll listen to the podcast and head right over, but you guys have a really nice shop. Like it doesn't feel like we had a warehouse and we're doing serving people during COVID on the side of the road, and then also like it feels like this has been a dream forever. It's very planned. Like the branding is really excellent. Like I feel like the actual shop kind of matches what you have, and that it's very well done. It's very high. Like,
Thank you.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
it was a big opportunity for us to, as you say, doesn't look like a warehouse on Finley Avenue on the north side of Birmingham, but it was really important for us to, being that this was Evans Meat's first entry into the public, view. It was really important for us to make a good first impression.
Really wanted to stick that landing.
Yeah, really. I mean, and we didn't have a, for those of you who haven't been there, it's a pretty small footprint. So, part of the reason for the design is, it had to be efficient. It had to feel welcoming, but also very, very clean, very, so it was, we were, and we had, a lot of help in executing we kind of laid it out, and, our architect, Bruce Lanier, was pretty instrumental.
Bruce is great, yeah.
So.
So was that a team that you'd already worked with, or did you put that team together too? Because I assume probably somebody did your branding and.
Yeah, well, we actually didn't have a full-time marketing director until it's been 2 years now. So it was a bit of a patchwork of contractors and interns, and sometimes us.
Yeah.
So
I had my brief stint as a social media guy.
That's right.
2 or 3 months.
That's right.
I feel like, are you really a local business if you start with a social media person that's their whole job?
Right.
Yeah. Well, what about the name? Because I think that's kind of it's a good name. And where did that come from? Yeah.
Well, so for those of the people listening who don't know, like Evans Meat's full origin story, it was it was started in 1998 by a gentleman called Butch Evans, and that's Adam, Chase, and Hunter's dad, and he started the business and now has 3 sons working in the business. So it's kind of like a few different things, right? Like, the son of a butcher, because they're the sons of the original butcher. The son of a butcher being that, like, it's kind of an offshoot of the parent company. And then, nothing to do with kind of that play on words.
Yeah.
Son of a butcher,
I mean, it's kind of brilliant because it sounds like there's a story even if you don't know the story. If you do know the story, it's like sons of a butcher named Butch, which is funny. Yeah.
It's great.
It's funny because there were a lot of different ideas thrown out there, and I don't really remember a single one of them off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So.
It's also good. I mean, it's good SEO too. Like it's butchers in the name. That's nice.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
It helps for sure.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, where's the butcher? And it's like, oh, well, there
Right,
you go.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure
exactly.
they were going to be a butcher.
Yeah. Well, kind of, I think that it's really cool to think about like how it started and all of that. Kind of, I guess fast forward a little bit and tell people kind of what is Son of a Butcher today. Like if you're going to walk in, what are people looking for in particular? What do you do that other people don't, or that you're offering maybe like better or more uniquely than other people? I think there's a lot, but I'd rather hear it from you.
Yeah. I think, okay, so some of what we're doing now, I think that's like really cool. This kind of goes back to what I was saying about how I came down here to be more in the city. And the original thought process behind that was like I wanted to kind of teach people more about cheese. I wanted to have like more hands-on with people to kind of really explain to them like, hey, these products are really cool. I'm going to help you kind of like unveil the mystery behind this stuff, because a lot of people are kind of weirded out about like going into a place where they don't know what something is and asking about it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to kind of act as like one of the people that can help communicate that so that they feel comfortable in the future. And that thought process, that is like a through line to today, where we have a shop that has exceptional quality products. The things that we curate in the store are things that we're all very passionate about. And that's not just on the Son of a Butcher side of things. That's also on the Evans side of things, right? So the cheeses are things that we really like from small producers, from like literal friends of some of the people that are ordering, and things that we really stand behind. And the goal for myself, and I think a lot of the people in the shop, is to be able to help everyone sort of understand why these products are good, where they're coming from, what you can do with them as well, like teaching people how to utilize them in ways that maybe they don't think about. And the current staff we have there are all people that really like this stuff. They find these things super interesting. A lot of them cook every night themselves. And so I think what you can kind of expect from the shop as opposed to some other places is, one, it is a small team. And so a lot of us, when we pick items, we make sure that everybody has tried them. Everybody knows how good they are. But two, it's like one of those things where the folks that are there have a ton of experience, a ton of knowledge, and they actively want to communicate that knowledge to you when you come in. And I think that's something that I appreciate when I go into a shop, and hopefully our customers appreciate it too, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's something that is so great about a lot of small businesses, and I think you guys really exemplify that. And so many people don't realize that that's how it is, because we're so used to, and I'm not saying like there are some corporate stores that does, it's not like that doesn't exist in corporate stores, but it's not necessarily the norm. It's like you may talk to somebody who's passionate about it. 9 times out of 10 you won't, you know?
Yeah.
And I think so many local businesses, like you're there, it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah,
right.
To own a local business, to work in a local business. So most people who are there because they do have an actual love for the product. And that's so different. Like I remember I did some Instagram story about Valentine's Day, and we were talking about charm at the time. And I was like, well, you can go in and just say, this is my mom, here's her Instagram, and they'll find jewelry that goes with that.
Yeah.
And several people were like, that worked. I'm like, of course it did. Like, I could go to you guys and say, like, I don't really know what my mom is into, but I know she likes this, this, and this, and you could probably recommend this as a gift for her.
For sure.
But I'm not going to walk into Publix and do that. Like, nothing against Publix. But, like, I don't think I could say, like, every single time you talk to somebody, they'll actually be able to connect you with that, if that makes sense.
And I think another cool thing about like having people that are on the more passionate side of businesses is, you know, one, like what I really like about being able to talk to people about these products, I do love seeing them kind of go like, oh man, this is delicious, this is awesome. But I also really like being able to represent some of the people that we're getting these things from, because a lot of them work just as hard as anybody else does. And I think like sometimes when you look at a price tag of an item, in a store, sometimes all you see is the price tag. You don't see what's going on like behind the scenes of the people that are making those items. Like a great example is one of the cheeses we sell. It's called Hallerhacker, and it's made by a guy named Walter Ross. You don't see the fact that this is a man on, I think, like a 3 or 4 man team who the other people that actually help him, they don't work like every single day.
Yeah.
He gets up in the morning at like 5 in the morning and works till like 6 o'clock at night making cheese under his house.
Yeah.
And he does that every single day of the year, and he cares so much about it. But you see the price tag and you don't necessarily know that story. And it's cool to be in a position where you can kind of communicate those stories to people and really help them understand, like, there's so much that goes into this. It's not just a food item. It's a passion project on the other end too. So
yeah, I think to kind of maybe try to sum up what John was saying is that our big differentiator is relationships, and that and everyone, a lot of people kind of say that, but it's kind of at the core of everything we do, both at Evans Meats and then Son of a Butcher is kind of a little bit of a microcosm for that. But I think having like a long track record at Evans of like building relationships and developing trust with our restaurant partners have kind of become a core part of our identity. And I think that filters all the way through the business and permeates all the way through the business. Has become just an integral part of our culture. It's how we try to source product. It's how we try to treat our people. It's how we treat our customers. And it's really, at the end of the day, and using cheese as an example, it doesn't typically cost us any more to develop a relationship and source thoughtfully. And I'll just use Parmigiano Reggiano as an example. There's an opportunity to really buy commodity there, but it doesn't really cost anything extra to meet the producers, find out who you want to work with, find the flavor profile you like, and then support a couple small dairies rather than buy through the commodity lane. So
Well, kind of speak more to that, because I think a lot of people think it does and I would guess a couple of the reasons would be when you're buying at scale like a corporation does, it would cost extra because they would have to do that 200 times.
Right.
So I'm guessing that the fact that you're not necessarily scaling to be like, I'm going to put this in 2,000 stores or across the country is part of that. Or is it that if you meet the people, you then can turn over so much more product, really, because you have those stories and you have those connections? And I mean,
yeah, for a business to our scale, I think, because using a relationship-based approach to sourcing, it becomes a competitive advantage for us.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you can certainly be successful buying opportunistically.
Yeah.
And, kind of rolling through everybody, but it's not necessarily our model. And we're also not at the scale where we can, take massive positions on
and you
products.
Have to, it's not a great long-term strategy, and then you have to compete on price.
Right, and that's not, we are competitive on price,
right, yeah.
for sure, especially when you're comparing, apples to apples
right,
and
yeah.
oranges to oranges.
Yeah.
It's not the first question
Parmesan
we ask.
to Parmesan.
Yeah.
It's not the first question we necessarily ask.
Yeah.
And, I think in order for something to become a core value, you have to, identify it and then also, actually put it into practice. And, specialty represents an area of the business where we can really quite easily, develop relationships with smaller producers.
Yeah.
Well, I love that, and especially if it's part of your company culture to do that. I think if you have a company culture that we never meet the supplier, it's hard to take those first, like, how do you take a trip?
Yeah.
How do you do,
Right.
But if you already have those, like, you have a method for that already, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, we kind of try to take the, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar approach to sourcing. We want, when we do make an ask of one of our producers, we want the answer to be yes. We want them to not cringe when they see our number come up on their caller ID. We really want to try and be a partner, all the way through the supply chain. So
I love that you said that too, because I think a lot of people, when you're only on the consumer side, generally I think you order something, that thing is delivered, and if it's not, you complain and you get your money back.
Yeah.
At least in my experience, that was not true when operating with wholesalers. Like, we would order certain cups, they send us other cups. They're like, too bad, these are the cups we sent. Like, so it was a lot more going back and forth. Yeah. So I can also see why that would save time and money. If you make the relationship with the supplier in the first place, it's a lot easier to call and be like, we weren't super happy with this, or like, next time we want to pivot, and they're probably more likely to listen to you because you have that relationship at first.
Yeah.
Too bad should really almost never be the answer.
Not ideal.
No.
But I do think that the relationship you have with wholesalers is different, I think, than the relationship you have just as a customer. So it was
feels more transactional.
Yeah, and just a little, I don't know, just different.
So that is actually kind of one of the things that I think sets us apart as, as a wholesale supplier, is that we believe that the transactions are a byproduct of a healthy relationship. We're not just trying to, we are trying to put things in the back door of restaurants, but we want that to be, if you develop the relationship, the transactions just come. We're not, we don't do a lot of the tricks a lot of other wholesale suppliers do, and things like that.
Yeah, I think one of the impressive things for me, about like, seeing them, is that you can tell that like the value that is being espoused is something that they actually live. I think it was a couple years ago. You can correct me if I'm wrong on the exact details of this, but there was I think it was a local, or not a local, but a cheese shop in a different state where I want to say they lost power for like such a long time that they had to basically throw all their product away. And we had a person from Evans that literally loaded their car up with like cheese and drove up there and like helped them reset everything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's like one of those things that I see and I'm like, wow, like that goes beyond just like saying that you care, So
we've hired a lot of people from the industry, former chefs, and that sort of thing, and so we've all kind of been in the same fight for a long time now. So and going back to that word partner, that partners are forged in the more difficult times. Otherwise, it's just a business transactional relationship. So sometimes going the extra mile, and in the case of Jackson, Mississippi, or New Orleans, where we service, sometimes going the extra 350 miles is what the relationship calls for. So we do it. So
it also, I feel like food is also something that builds relationships so much. So it does make sense also for your product that you're kind of, I feel like you're, building those relationships all the way around, and then even your end product is essentially helping people build relationships.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this, pretty much that exact thing this morning when I was kind of going over things in my head about what to talk about, and that is I think one of the coolest parts about like being involved in something like this is that like food is something that for me is a way to like express feelings to people. It's a way to connect people. It's something that like it is a communication piece in and of itself. And it's really neat to just be involved in that kind of scene and get to see like how other people handle that, because I think like what we do with it and what they do with it, I think is something that goes a little beyond what sometimes other people look at it as,
Yeah. And I think especially, our society is kind of more segmented now, and I think it is cool not only to buy from a local store where you are getting that connection, but also to kind of like prepare a meal, or when you guys sell to restaurants, to be able to sit down in a restaurant and enjoy that meal, like, is something also we had lost, like, during COVID to some extent.
Yeah, for
so.
sure. For sure.
Well, can you talk some about building the relationship with restaurants, which is what Evans did primarily for so long, and then building the relationship with customers across the counter, and like, are there things, what are the commonalities and are there differences in that?
I'll start, I guess.
Yeah, go for it.
So, sorry, rephrase the question.
It's kind of like, how different is it, like, creating a relationship with the restaurant supplier versus, like, the person who's going to walk in off the street to...
I mean, I think there are probably more similarities than there are differences, really, right? I mean, it's all about creating trust. I mean, you know, when you walk into, when an Evans rep's sitting down, you're going through a menu change as a chef, and an Evans rep sits down with you and kind of helps talk you through that. You know, that's something where it takes time with a chef, you know, to build that trust. You know, I was in Athens, Georgia last week with one of our reps, and someone wanted to put something on the menu, and that particular item, because of like some larger supply chain issues, was going to be problematic.
Yeah.
And so we consulted and said, that sounds great, but you might be setting yourself up for heartbreak. And so, like, you know, just rather than try and get a quick sale, you know, really kind of telling the whole story with a customer, you know, is in the long term going to be bear a lot more fruit. Yeah. And, you know, as far as, I mean, pretty much the same as what you do with regular customers.
Yeah. I mean, from on the retail side of things, on the butcher side of things, I think that it is an investment. It's just investing the time. Like when somebody comes up, and I think a lot of this is stuff that when you work with people enough, you kind of are able to pick up on it a little more easily. But when you have people come in and you can tell that they actually do, they're not just there to grab a thing and leave. They actually want to know a little bit about it. You invest in it. And that's one way where you can like build trust with those people, so that when they come in, they're more likely to like take your recommendations and whatnot. And that's for the people that are interested. But I think for the people that come in and they're just grabbing something and leaving, it's like, just maybe we've all seen it in like, you know, TV shows and stuff. It's remembering like what they like next time, asking them how that thing was that they cooked last time. It just shows that you paid attention. Yeah. And that makes them feel like you actually like care about them. And then that builds trust. And then over time, like you have a better relationship. And I think that it's the investment in people is kind of like the thing that both sides is very similar in, because when they have accounts come into the shop every now and again to like check some stuff out, I pretty much do the same thing that I do with them that I do with customers when I'm letting them try cheeses. And it's just letting them go through them, explaining to them what they are, and like, you know, picking out flavor notes and things like that. Yeah.
Successfully.
Yeah.
Do you have, is there more of, like, I imagine you have some customers who know what they're looking for, are excited by it, and maybe some people who have a lot of a learning curve. How do you kind of talk to those people that are just like, I don't know what I want, or do you have people who are a little bit hostile of like, well, why is this way? Or I would imagine those probably aren't long-term customers anyway, but kind of, even if you just are kind of approaching it with ignorance and saying like, I would like to get into this, but I don't know how. I imagine you might see more of that on the customer side than the restaurant side, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But how do you kind of approach that?
So on my side of things, I think that one thing when you're in this kind of position, you should always be thinking about when you're trying to like explain things to people, is when you're explaining something to somebody and you're trying to get them to learn something, it's not for you, it's for them. And I think that you need to remember a time in your life when you didn't know these things too. And I luckily had a lot of mentors when I was getting through the cheese world that were really good at explaining things and investing in me, that I think it gave me a good concept for how to do it for other people. But But essentially, you just need to want to teach them, because you want them to be enriched and be able to like kind of understand these things like after you're done, right? I think a lot of times too many people want to teach because they want to like kind of lord the knowledge above people and say, look how smart I am, look how good at this stuff I am. And I think that's just the wrong way of looking at teaching somebody. So we do have customers that don't understand this stuff sometimes, but you know, the whole reason I'm in this industry is because I like being able to teach people stuff. For example, with the cheese world, it's like, why are prices so high? I'm generally very honest with people about these things. Customers are smart. They're not dumb. They if you can explain something to them, they're gonna understand the concept behind it. Like, this is an imported item. You have to pay for the import in some cases. Or, hey, this comes from a particular type of animal that's not overwhelmingly prevalent in the United States, so the milk is a lot more limited, and then their production is... I'm okay with, like, just breaking it down. And a lot of times when you do that, people are like, oh, I didn't think about that. And maybe they don't purchase it, but now they know.
Right.
So they can make more informed decisions in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think going to the original question, I think, you know, especially on the counter, which, you know, I find myself behind from time to time, you know, my approach is always trying to meet people on their level. And, you know, so if someone comes in confused or what's the word, timid, you know, just try and demystify everything. Make it easy. You know, it's not, you know, these are simple agricultural products. It's nothing, you know,
at the end of the day, it's spoiled
too
milk,
hoity,
right?
right. And you know, so you know, in that case, you try and make them feel comfortable. Sometimes people come in and want to flex and, you know, show how much they know, and you know, so you let them flex a little bit and try and you know, meet their what you know they think their level is, and you know, just make them in a different way feel comfortable, you know. So, and sometimes people come in hostile. Very rarely, I would say, in our shop.
Yeah, it doesn't happen super often in our shop. I think in general, the most that we really get is like just sometimes people do ask about pricing and stuff like that, and it's like, you know.
Yeah.
And everyone's entitled to a bad day, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
for sure.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just take it at face value.
Yeah.
But overwhelmingly, I would say the, you know, Birmingham community has been very receptive to what we're doing, and I think that's mostly you know, a testament to who we are as a community, and then also who we've brought into the shop to kind of tell our story, because it's not, you know, being able, that's 90% of it, is being able to, you know, not only lay it out there, but then, you know, let people know how these things are used in the real world and in their kitchens, and so.
Well, as far as kind of like demystifying a little bit, can you explain like what a cheesemonger is, what a fishmonger is, like how do you even get from interest to, is there a major in this?
Well, I mean, short answer, no. Long answer, yes, with an if and a but. But, so a monger, be it fish, cheese,
meat,
war, whatever. It's monger is someone who trades in a single commodity. So a cheesemonger would be one who just sells cheese. And as far as accreditation goes, we are developing as an industry accreditation for cheesemongers, which is the ACS certified cheese professional, and it's a pretty rigorous test.
It's so the certificate, there's I think currently 2 certifications in the cheese world, and they're all coming from the American Cheese Society. One is like a sensory certification, which basically means that you have like a really good handle on like tasting and smelling cheeses. It's like that one's pretty neat, but there's another one that's a more kind of broad, all-encompassing, and it's called Certified Cheese Professional. And essentially, it's like a 2 to 3 hour long test that you take that covers kind of everything. And I think each year that they do it, they have a slightly different focus, but it covers everything from like even the make process of it, all the way to like the selling side of things. It asks sometimes that some of the stuff I studied for had like things about, okay, well, what's the lactose content in this cheese? What's the ash content, which is like the little mineral content of the milk that you're using for these cheeses. So it's a pretty like in-depth program. I wish I had a flashier name, you know? Like, I feel like sommelier is pretty cool.
Yeah,
and, like, certified cheese professional or abbreviated CCP could give people the wrong idea, you know? But yeah, there's a couple of them out there. And those you don't have to do to be a cheesemonger. You can sell cheese without that stuff and be extremely proficient, but that's kind of for people that if they want to just go like the extra step and really kind of nerd out about it, you know? So
how do people, like, if anybody's sort of interested in that, or what was your path? Did you just kind of say, like, I'm selling this, I really like it? Like, did you have people in your life that were into this? Like, how do you go from I like cheese to I don't
know if I actually know your story behind that.
I mean, I came in through the culinary door.
Okay.
You know, I worked in restaurants as a cook and a chef, and then you know, buying cheese was kind of a small part of the job. And one that I inexplicably took an interest in because no one else really seemed to. This is the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And, you know, cheese, especially domestic, hadn't yet kind of gotten to the prominent place it is right now. And so I took an interest in cheese and, you know, just bought my first book, Cheese Primer by Stephen Jenkins. I think it was everyone's our age's first book.
Pretty much,
and just started kind of, you know, doing research and tasting and visiting shops. You know, I was in New York at the time, so visiting the original Murray's on Bleecker Street and just kind of DIY cultivating that passion. And then, you know, a cheese rep walked into our kitchen and I was like, I kind of want to do what that guy's doing.
Yeah.
He had just a satchel full of cheese. He was tasting it, talking about it. And then once I got to meet and do my first farm visit, then you're just hooked. And just seeing the love that goes into this. And, you know, just took a job at a store called V. Richards, which doesn't exist anymore, but our mutual friend Ricky Little's family owned that, so I ran their cheese program.
I feel like that's a legend in Birmingham, so
yeah,
I mean, like,
for sure
It was. Yeah, definitely. So, you know, just sort of grew from there.
Yeah.
So
I see that feel a little bit in Son of a Butcher too. Like, I lived down the street from V. Richards, and I couldn't afford, like, I was very poor at the time, but, like, I mean, post college, you know. But I would just like walk through it and be like, it's lovely, you know.
It's fun to go look there.
So what was your kind of path to
that? So I didn't know. I guess like I didn't know what I wanted to do when I got out of college. And you know, I went to college for like 3D animation. And I kind of realized like really fast, like, oh, that's not really for me. I have too much nervous energy to like sit in one spot for too long without doing something. So I ended up getting a job at Starbucks, and that was originally it was just like a thing to do while I figured out what I was wanting to do, and I kind of fell in love with like the art of coffee. There's a coffee shop that opened up nearby that did really, really awesome coffee at the time, and I started going there and trying their stuff, and I got really interested in the craft element. Primavera.
Okay, yeah.
Back in the day, that was like my first that was the first cup of coffee I had that like it blew my mind. Like I remember walking out of there just being like, what did I just have? Oh my god!
Originally,
the one in Cobb Heights.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Originally, when we started Church Street, we carried Primavera, and they're doing different stuff now. But they also at the time would train you, and like we got them to train all our baristas and Surfacer, Marzocco, and all the things.
Those guys were great.
They
really moved the needle for coffee
definitely.
in this town, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was like the first time I like discovered what latte art was, and I was just completely enamored with it.
Yeah.
And I remember like trying to figure out how to do it. I was not very good at it, but I would try to put little like hearts and stuff on the cups at Starbucks, but that like got me into it's kind of got me looking at food a little more. I'd started watching Food Network at the time, and I got really into like cooking, and I really wanted to learn more about how to do that. I had this whole idea to become a chef in my head. That kind of didn't work out, but I started working at a restaurant on the front of house and realized again, like, oh boy, that's not for me.
Yeah.
I can't do the chefing at all. And at some point in time, I ended up moving downtown, or moving to the J. Clyde downtown. That's where I ended up landing for a little bit after the first restaurant job. And I got super into the craft beer industry. I promise it's a long story.
I think this is
but we are getting there.
how we like it's how it happens. I think.
Yeah.
And also all of these places like V. Richards, Primavera, J. Clyde, all have their storied history.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually the origin story is a little long because no one's a
Yeah.
10-year-old like, I want to be a
Yeah.
cheesemonger when I grow
Exactly,
up.
man. It really is like one of those things that you just kind of fall into, and you're like, oh wow, I really like that.
Yeah.
So I'm spending some time at the J. Clyde, and during that time frame, I was going to Whole Foods a lot. That's where me and my girlfriend would get our groceries for the week. And while I was in there, there's a gentleman that I saw regularly. He was always working in the beer aisle, and I found out he was the team leader for the specialty department there, which is the department that covers your wine, your beer, your coffee. It covered cheese, charcuterie. It covered like chocolates. It was like the fancy department, right? And he came up to me. He'd seen me at the J. Clyde because he would go every now and again. He said, "Hey, how are things over the Clyde?" And I said, "Well, they're doing okay." At the time, it was a little slower, and I was like, I've been making a little less than I want to. And he was like, "Well, you ever thought about a part-time job? We could use you in specialty." So I kind of like thought about it for a couple of weeks, and I eventually said, "You know what? Let's give it a try." And I ended up going for it. And guy Randall Feltz, he's the guy that hired me. Super knowledgeable about cheese. He was one of those certified cheese professionals. And I just didn't know anything about it at all. Like I knew what cheddar cubes and Colby Jack cubes were. Like that's what I ate at home. I knew nothing about it. But I remember so first of all, I had a lot of really awesome cheeses. But I remember one specific moment that kind of like clicked in my head, and it made me kind of go like, oh, this is actually super cool. It was the first time I had a second wheel of Gruyere at a different time of year, because I'd had it when I first started there.
Yeah.
And then maybe 3-4 months later, I had it again. And I remember taking a bite of it, and it tasted totally different.
Yeah.
The first one was like a little bit kind of like, had a little bit of kind of a funky thing to it. It was creamy, had a little crunch in it, but it overwhelmingly was like brown butter or something like that, right? This next one I tried, it tasted like field onions and like pistachios.
Yeah.
And I remember going like, holy crap, why is this different?
Yeah.
And I started to I asked Randall, and I started to kind of like think about it more. And it's all down to like, cheese is a living thing. It changes over time, and the output that you get from the input changes depending on, what the cows are eating, what the air the cows are breathing, and like what water they're drinking. And it was just such a cool thing to like go, oh, this is a food item, and you so often you expect to go in and get the same thing every single time. And it's a little bit cool to go one time and get something, and then go the next time and it's a little bit different. But the reason it's different isn't because the maker did it wrong.
Yeah.
It's just because that's how it works. And that's what got me into it.
It's so cool because, we talked about connecting to people, and food connects you to people, but it's so much connecting to even like the world, the land, which we aren't very, I think we're notoriously not very connected to.
That's fair. True.
And it does seem like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like that is a common thread through everything that Evans provides, that it is very connected to like the earth, the farm, the sea. Yeah.
And I think sometimes it can be easier to thread that needle with cheese, with and work with small producers. But even our quote unquote more conventional beef program, we work with, and I'm speaking a little outside my lane. I'm just a cheesemonger, but we work with like farm to feeder programs where they're actually they can name the small ranch that the cattle are produced on. We work with a series of small beef packers and we can say with a lot more confidence than perhaps some other people that we know where our products are coming from across the board. So
definitely. Well, I think I kind of want to pivot because I want to ask about your sandwiches and your grab and go and those kinds of things. I feel like I'm like my mind is all like in the beautiful like connection, and which I do think is a part of it. And I do think we recently had somebody on the podcast, The Gathering Lab, who she like connects people and deals with like the lack of connection. And I do think buying local and like eating food that is like you can feel that like taste the connection is another way that we can kind of put that back into our lives in a way. So I feel like I was kind of going that direction, but I want to talk about because kind of tell people about the sandwich program and then how did that come about? Like, was it using?
I'll field it.
Yeah.
This is
it's very funny.
It's a funny one, right? And John can definitely elaborate. So, two things. One, when we opened the shop, it was too much buzz and it was really, really busy. Almost unmanageably so, but we had a pretty skilled crew, so it was manageable. At some point we knew that we would have to start doing things and hustling a little bit. Well, I think it was about a month and a half in.
Yeah, maybe. I think it was like a month and a half.
I come into the shop, and those of you who aren't familiar with prosciutto di Parma, it's shaped kind of like a guitar or mandolin in a way. It's got a like neck and a
short little stubby guitar.
And or ukulele, really.
More ukulele,
But we had 9 or 10 of the top, the neck part, sitting in our cooler. What are we going to do with this? And kind of tossed around some ideas, and we were just like, well, let's just make a sandwich. And it was prosciutto di Parma, butter, baguette, Parmesan Reggiano cheese.
Super simple.
And there, believe it or not, there were some detractors on this idea. But so we were like, well, let's just do it on Saturday morning.
It was very much an off the cuff thing too. Like I think didn't you just like roll in with some baguettes or something like that? And you're like, let's do it.
We started with 50
sandwiches
on a Saturday morning, and then we opened at 8. We were sold out by 8:15. We're like, oh shoot, let's make double that next week of something, and then it just sort of grew and evolved, and then John can kind of talk about the evolution.
Yeah, so like Brian was saying, when we first implemented the program, the idea behind it, like the necks of the prosciutto, they're not like full sheets like I want to give to people at the shop. And so we had like excess, and it was like, well, we need to do something with this. We can't just throw it away. That would be a total waste. And the sandwich idea was like originally an avenue to say, okay, well, we've got all this charcuterie, and there comes a point in the piece where you don't necessarily want to use that to give to a customer, not because it tastes bad, but because it just doesn't look the way that you want it to look. And so it was like, well, let's apply this to a sandwich. We can make really good sandwiches with really high quality charcuterie and other ingredients. And it was originally very simple, right? But, as with most things, like over time, making just a prosciutto, butter, and Parmigiano Reggiano sandwich every single week for me was a little like it wasn't as creative as I wanted to be with it. And so we started coming up with different ideas like, well, what can we do? Can we really push the limits of like what our area can handle? And that, segued all the way into, nowadays where the way that it operates, instead of it just being me coming up with stuff and then like saying, here's what we're going to do. Now we've got multiple people at the shop that have creative ideas that pitch stuff. We'll usually say like, hey, here, what are we going to do this week? And then we will come up with a sandwich for the following week on a week-to-week basis. And I think we've come up with some pretty cool stuff. I mean, I think, we're not just doing charcuterie sandwiches now, but when we do those, they're still exceptional because
Yeah.
they're still using really, really great ingredients. So I kind of view it as like a creative outlet for people a little bit. And we just want to make sure that we hit like a certain bar of quality for it. And I've been personally really enjoying what we've been coming up with this year.
I think it's fun also because it's like a different, I mean, because you kind of like have a different sandwich, you still announce on Instagram, and then you can kind of come and be like, okay, today I want this, and I'm only going to get it today, and they're going to sell out at some point. So I feel like there are certain days where if you walk outside at lunchtime, you just see people from all the neighboring businesses heading over to Son of a Butcher. It's like really fun.
Yeah.
Cult following. For
Yeah.
No, and it's it's a lot of fun and creative. I think it's, at the end of the day, how you value those byproducts are probably the margin between success and failure to a degree.
Yeah.
And also, sandwiches bring people in the door and allow them to see what we really do, which is, procure and sell, the best products from around the country, world, so.
Yeah, and I think with the sandwich program too, the byproduct idea, it's like that's really what it comes down to is we always want with these sandwiches, we want people to like look at it and we want them to look at them as curated items that are like things we've put thought into and investment into, every single time. And if we feel like we don't hit the mark on that like one week, then we probably won't do that one again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or we'll
sandwiches.
workshop it
Yeah,
again too. Yeah.
Just,
Well, I feel like we could go on forever, but I think that, we have to wrap up at some point. And so tell people like how the best time to kind of, or the best way to get in touch with you. I think it's probably just to come to the shop. Is it to come to the shop, to come get a sandwich, or I guess this will run like, it won't be exactly holiday time, but I think people start thinking through. So do you have like some special stuff coming up, or should they come to you and talk about charcuterie boards or what?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, depending on exactly when people are seeing this, we have a couple of holiday menus that come out every year. We've got one for Thanksgiving and we'll have one for Christmas. The Christmas one covers New Year's as well. So you'll see a lot of really cool stuff on there, like seasonal stuff like turkeys, hams, rib roasts, tenderloins. We have cheese boards on there for sure. And then we've got some other like little add-on items like caviar, maitre d' butter, like stuff like that that are just meant to kind of enhance your holiday experience. And then there's like some specialty cheeses that are on there as well. But also at the end of the day, if you are looking for stuff like that, you can just come in during that time too.
Yeah.
It's a busy time, but it's also kind of like the time when I feel like the energy is the highest for the year as well. So I think it's fun to come in.
It's fun for us.
Yeah.
I think being there around that buzz and being, what better time of year to be part of the community is, on the most important festive meals of the year.
Yeah.
And regarding, how to start that relationship, I think, shout out to Emily, our marketing director.
Yes.
I think she's done a really good job of making sure people know we're there and we're ready to serve without being, bombastic or anything like that. So we have a pretty good presence on Instagram where that things are, the major happenings. We also have a newsletter that gets sent out every Monday or Sunday evening.
Yeah.
Yep. And and then or just pop in. You're going to see a friendly face for sure.
Yeah.
So.
I think on the customer side, it's like a fun time of year to say like, okay, I'm going to do something special, and then maybe also become familiar with the shop and start coming throughout the year too. So cool.
Yeah, holidays are a great time.
Yeah.
Not for phone calls the week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
necessarily.
not for phone
Try
calls.
to avoid those.
Yeah.
I think that's probably true for any business, any brick and mortar at this point.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Check out the socials to see what's
Right.
already there. Check out the website and then just come by.
Yeah, and apologies if the phone isn't answering.
info@sonofabutcher.com.
We're bad.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Carrie.
It was great.
Appreciate it.
Oh, of
Appreciate it.
course.
Thank you.
The Localist podcast is produced by me, Carrie Rollwagen, and we record right here at Infomedia Studios. So if you're interested in doing your own podcast or just even recording some social media clips, we would love to help. Just head to infomedia.com and fill out that contact form, and we'll let you know if we can meet your needs. There's a whole team that helps me put the Localist together here. Our showrunner is Taylor Davis. Hannah Cragen is our outreach manager, and Paul Bryant is here with me in the studio working on sound and video. Find show notes and links to what we talked about today at carrierollwagen.com, and you can find me on social media at @CRollwagen. Until next time, here's to thinking global by acting local and putting small shops before big bucks.